Okay, so have you ever been at a family gathering and things just kind of go south? Arguments and emotions just bubbling over.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it can get pretty tense, right?
Definitely.
And imagine in the middle of all that, a gun goes off.
Oh, wow.
That's a total nightmare, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we're diving into today. This case, it's got so many twists and turns. It's about Tucker Reed, and she's this young woman, right? But she gets caught up in this whole mess of family drama, accusations,
Hmm.
and ends up charged with manslaughter for her uncle's death.
Yeah, this case, it really grabs you because it's not just like a simple headline. You got this like whole tangled family and inheritance dispute, people telling different stories, and the detectives, they're thinking, hold on, there's got to be more to this.
Right.
So the big question is, was this self-defense? Like she was in danger. Or was it like a crime of passion, maybe? Or something even more planned out?
Yeah. So it all starts with this really creepy phone call to the police, right? From Shane Moore, and he's Tucker's uncle.
Okay.
He's all worried because Tucker fired a gun earlier that morning.
Huh.
But what's really freaky is that this call happens just hours before Shane ends up dead.
Wow.
Yeah. And then later, we hear this totally frantic 911 call from Tucker's mom, Kelly, after the shooting.
Okay.
It's rough. You can hear the panic in her voice, and she even says she doesn't want to help her brother who's dying.
Oh, wow.
And the call, it's a mess.
Yeah.
The details about the gun keep changing. And finally, Kelly admits she hid it in a drawer.
Right from the start, these calls, they throw up all these red flags for the investigators. The stories don't match up. Everyone's like super emotional. It just feels like something's off.
Totally.
And when we look at how the women describe what happened, well, the inconsistencies, they just get bigger.
Yeah. They both say it was self-defense. They paint this picture of Shane as this violent and threatening guy.
Right.
But the detectives, they notice something right away. Their stories are almost too similar, almost like rehearsed.
Yeah, that they're so similar, it's a huge deal. Think about it. If you're in this crazy, stressful situation, you wouldn't expect everyone to remember things exactly the same, right?
Right.
So when their stories line up so perfectly, it kind of makes you think, did they make up a story together?
And the physical evidence, it doesn't help their case either.
Mm.
Shane didn't have a weapon on him when he was shot. And the gun, it had been reloaded after Tucker fired it earlier.
Oh, wow.
So those details, they really make that self-defense story hard to believe.
For sure, especially that reloading part. That kind of points to planning. It doesn't sound like in the moment self-defense. So now the investigation, it shifts, right? It starts looking at the possibility of a planned confrontation.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
the detectives, they bring Tucker in, right,
Right.
for questioning. And things get pretty intense. They hit her with that call Shane made to the police, the one where he's worried about her firing the gun.
Yeah.
And at first she's like, oh, it was an accident. But then she changes her story, admits she fired it on purpose earlier, saying it was for, protection.
So right there, you've got another inconsistency, making her story even harder to believe. And it also makes you wonder if she felt so threatened earlier that she needed protection. What happened later? What changed?
Yeah. And this is where the detectives, they really start digging, right? Trying to piece together, what exactly happened and what was going through Tucker's head.
Right.
But then there's this whole other mystery. With the gun,
Okay.
they only find one used shell casing after Shane's death. So that means somebody reloaded it.
Hmm.
But Tucker, she's like, nope, wasn't me.
So now you have this missing shell casing. It just adds another layer to everything. If Tucker didn't reload it, who did? And why? Trying to hide something. Or maybe there's someone else involved, someone we haven't heard about yet. It's a whole new thing for the investigators to look into.
Now, after the shooting, Tucker and her mom, they tell this dramatic story to the police.
Okay.
They say they barely got away from Shane, that he was attacking them. We even have a clip of Kelly, Tucker's mom, giving this really emotional statement
Hmm.
where she claims Shane, assaulted her
Hmm.
and tried to force his way into the house.
Hmm.
It's pretty intense stuff, but there's a problem.
Oh.
Their story about this crazy escape, it doesn't quite line up with what the evidence shows.
Okay.
There was this witness, Carla. She was the notary there for something else.
Yeah.
She was there for some of it, but her view was blocked.
Yeah.
So she couldn't really say for sure if the women were really fighting Shane off, like they said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the detectives, they're getting more and more suspicious, right?
Yeah.
Because the story, it's just not adding up.
Yeah, so you've got these different stories, everyone's emotional, and the evidence is like pointing in different directions. It's a real tangled mess, isn't it?
Totally.
And as the investigation goes on, the detectives then getting frustrated. They have this feeling like there's something darker going on, but they can't quite prove it.
Yeah.
They can't prove like what Tucker was really thinking, so they can't go for murder charges.
But here's the thing. While all this is happening, Tucker, she kind of goes in a whole different direction. She starts calling herself Wynn and decides she wants to be an actress.
Really?
Yeah, and she even lands a role in a horror movie. And get this, the movie's about a shooting.
Oh, wow. Talk about like life imitating art, huh?
It's pretty strange, right?
Yeah.
Especially with everything that's going on with the trial and stuff.
Yeah. On the one hand, you could say she's just trying to like move on with her life, try something new while she waits for the trial. But her picking acting in a movie about a shooting, it makes you wonder, is she really trying to get away from it all? Or is there like something else going on?
It's definitely an interesting choice. And then she really gets into it. She jumps right into the local theater scene and auditions for the lead role in a musical.
Okay.
But her being part of this play, it's not exactly smooth sailing. She starts making these kind of unusual requests. Like she wants to design her own costumes
Oh.
and use her own things on the set.
Hmm.
It's almost like she's trying to control everything, to make the play's story, like her story.
Yeah, blurring the lines between reality and the role she's playing.
Yeah. And all these demands, they create a lot of tension.
Oh yeah, I bet.
She's butting heads with the director, missing rehearsals, and when things go wrong, she just like blows up.
Oh wow.
It's like all the pressure of everything, it's just making things worse.
It makes you think maybe this behavior, it's not just because of the trial, maybe it's like part of who she is.
Yeah. And then there's this whole other weird thing. This person shows up with Tucker all the time. They call them her advocate. But it turns out it's actually her mom, Kelly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So now it's like, why is Kelly so involved in all this acting stuff? Is she protecting Tucker or is she like manipulating things behind the scenes? It just makes everything more confusing.
It's definitely a strange dynamic. And then things really go off the rails on opening night.
What happened?
Tucker, she tells everyone she's in the hospital, can't perform.
Oh, wow.
So the whole production's freaking out, right?
Yeah.
But then, right before the curtain goes up, there she is, ready to go on stage.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So she just like pulls a total diva move.
Pretty much.
Talk about disruptive, huh? Makes you wonder what she was thinking. Was she desperate to like feel normal, trying to show she was in control? Or was it all an act to get attention?
It's hard to say.
Hmm.
But things get even crazier. Tucker and Kelly, they start this huge fight with the director. They even threaten to call the cops. We actually have some clips of the director talking about it later, and you can hear it in their voice, the shock, the frustration. It's clear that everyone was like totally shaken up by it.
This whole thing is really eye-opening. You see this pattern with her, the manipulation, the controlling behavior, the way she blurs those lines. It makes you think maybe the shooting, it wasn't just like a one-time thing. Maybe it was a sign of something deeper going on.
Yeah. And the director, they end up kicking Tucker out of the play
Yeah.
because she starts accusing people on the staff of harassment.
Oh, boy.
So her behavior, it crosses a line,
Yeah.
and she faces some serious consequences.
These accusations, they're a big deal. They make you question, can you believe anything she says?
Wow.
And an investigation doesn't find any proof to back her up,
Right.
which makes her look even worse. And then you find out her advocate, it was her mom all along. It's like, what's really going on between them? Are they both making stuff up together? Or is Kelly like stuck in this web of Tucker's lies?
So now it's like you can't even tell who to trust anymore.
Yeah.
It's all just layers of lies and deception.
Yeah.
And remember, all of this is happening while Tucker's still waiting for her trial.
The Rensselaer.
Yeah, the stakes are high, and everything she does, it's like under this shadow of the trial.
Exactly.
And as we get closer to the trial, both sides, the prosecution and the defense, they're like building their cases, right? They're getting ready. But then something happens that could change everything.
Oh, what's that?
The defense, they say they have this new evidence, and it could seriously affect the outcome of the trial.
What kind of evidence? At this point, what could possibly change things so much?
They show a video,
Uh-huh.
and it's not just any video, it's Shane, filmed sometime before this shooting.
Okay.
But in the video, he's not himself, He's acting really strange, being aggressive. even threatening people.
Wow, a video of Shane like that could be a big deal for the defense. It could totally change how the jury sees him, right?
They might start thinking that maybe Tucker and Kelly, they really were scared for their lives.
For sure, that's what the defense is going for. They want to show that Shane was dangerous, that he was a real threat.
Yeah.
So they're fighting back against this whole idea of Tucker being some mastermind, planning everything out.
So now it's like two totally different stories. Who will the jury believe?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
This video of Shane, it really throws a wrench into things, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's a game changer. The prosecution, they were all set on this, planned out murder story. But now they got to deal with this whole other image of Shane as this, unpredictable, maybe even dangerous guy.
Right. So it's a big problem for them.
Huge problem. Their whole case, it's about proving what Tucker was thinking, her intentions. But now there's this doubt. Maybe Tucker and Kelly, they really did think they were in danger.
Yeah. So the prosecution can't just, ignore this video, can they?
Nope, they got to do something.
So what do? Do they try to say the video is fake or, I don't know, downplay it somehow?
They go a different route. Instead of, trashing the video, they start looking more into Shane's life, talking to people who knew him.
Okay.
Trying to figure out, was this video normal Shane behavior, or was it a one-time thing?
So they're trying to build this bigger picture of him.
Exactly. Show that he was more than just that angry guy in the video.
Right.
They want to show the jury Shane was a real person with good and bad, that the video, it doesn't tell the whole story.
And what do they find out? Do they get a different side of Shane?
They find out that Shane, he was going through a lot back then when the video was made. Family problems, money troubles, maybe even some mental health stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a reminder that people, they're complicated.
Yeah.
Lots of things affect how they act.
So the prosecution, they tell the jury about all this, about Shane's struggles, but they still say, Tucker went too far. It wasn't self-defense.
It's a tough line to walk,
Yeah.
They got to acknowledge the video, that maybe Shane was scary sometimes, but they still got to make their case. That Tucker, she planned this.
Okay, so what happens at the trial? Do they believe the prosecution or do they buy the defense's story about Shane being dangerous?
The jury, they find Tucker guilty of manslaughter.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like they maybe thought Tucker and Kelly felt threatened, but what they did, it went beyond self-defense,
It's a tough verdict.
Yeah, it's not, simple. This whole case, it's messy. There's no good guy, bad guy. It's about, what people do when they're under pressure, family secrets, and, how one bad decision can change everything.
Yeah.
This case, with all its ups and downs, it reminds us that justice, it's not always black and white. It's complicated. You don't always get a clear answer. It makes you think about how our legal system works, and how hard it is to find the truth when people lie and try to control things.
So we're left with a lot to think about, huh? About families, how their stories can clash, and how one moment you can have such a huge impact. It's the kind of story that stays with you, makes you think about people and what's really true.
Absolutely.